Hi, welcome to Dog Years and Tall Tales. I'm Kelly, and my roommate,
Margot, who's back here behind the camera, but you'll hear my voice.
yes, they are going to give me some feedback on some of these books that I'm going to go through that are on my HRCYED 3.0 TBR. I have some of them as physical copies, some are Margot's, and a lot I'm probably going to end up getting from the library. I'm going to go in the order that I have the information saved on my phone, which is not the order that Cordy went through it all as. But the first one is Bookception. So the first book I have for Bookception is The Tiger's Wife, which references the Jungle Book by
Is Jungle Book Rudyard Kipling?
Rudyard Kipling. Yes. For Choose Your Own Curriculum, I have The Wolf and the Woodsman by Ava Reed for theology. And I have The Rule of Four by Ian Caldwell and Dustin Thomason for history. A Study in Drowning by Ava Reed for architecture/art. Yellowface by R.F. Kuang for psychology. And A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess for language linguistics. For Choose Your Party, I have The Phoenix Keeper by S.A. McLean for Druid. Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross for a bard. The Fool's Experiments by Edward M. Lerner for wizard. And The 12 by Justin Cronin for cleric. And the other ones that I need to get from the library are The Hurricane Wars for sorcerer. And I'm currently about halfway through The Passage by Justin Cronin, which is the first book in this series. And that one is Paladin. For backlist author, I'm doing Brandon Sanderson. Finished Edge Dancer actually on the first day of this challenge on July 7th. Then I have Oathbringer, Dawn Shard, Rhythm of War, and Wind and Truth to finish out the Stormlight Archive.
Yeah, and I will say Kelly has been borrowing my Brandon Sanderson and absolutely lapped me almost immediately on where I am. I'm just done with the... I guess I'm kind of in the Arcanum Unbounded stories that specifically come after the first Mistborn series. But Kelly was like, hey, can I borrow these? And then fully just incredibly far ahead of me in in Brandon Sanderson, probably titles of books already. So
I'm reading them in a different order than you, though.
Well, that's true, but I still think you've read way more already. Definitely in pages, because I haven't read any of Stormlight Archive. So
okay. Anthology of authors. So for the anthology itself, I have Science Fiction and Fantasy 2024. That was edited by Hugh Howey. And then for 6 of the authors, I have Less by Andrew Sean Greer, Blackfish City by Sam J. Miller, Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix, The Mercy of Gods by James S.A. Corey, Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse, and Sublimation by Isabel J. Kim.
Mm-hmm. I have read Less, and it was really, really good. I read it after it won the Pulitzer. It won a big prize, and it was really, really good. And I read Less is Lost, too. Or maybe it won the Booker. It won one of the big ones.
Yes, winner of the Pulitzer Prize for fiction in 2018.
It was really, really good. And then I read Less is Lost, which is the second one, which was also quite good.
Okay. For familial terms, I have The City's Son by Tom Pollock and The Tiger's Wife, which will be the second use for this book. And the other ones I will have to get from the library, but My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney, Daughter of the Moon Goddess.
I love Daughter of the Moon Goddess.
Really?
Absolutely love that book. I listened to it on audio while I was quilting last year, and I absolutely adored it. The second book I didn't love as much, but I loved Daughter of the Moon Goddess. It was just a really great romance plus fantasy plus mythology, which just is kind of the perfect Venn diagram for me.
Yeah, I've heard it's good. You just hit the tripod, Juniper. And then I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy.
I really, really liked. I love a celebrity memoir. I actually did read it, which usually I listen to them on audio. But I think all the hype was correct and accurate, but I do think it depends on how you're feeling in your life about if it's a good book to read when.
All right. And then for Food Pyramid, the only one I actually have a hard copy for Grain, I have Coffee Shop in an Alternate Universe by C.B. Lee. Have you read this one yet?
I haven't. It was a book that I saw like a lot when I was at a ton of airports last year. And it was really interesting to me. And then I was ordering a different book on Pango, and they had like, had good sales. And so I also just happened to grab this one.
I like the little
Yeah, that's
corners.
somebody that the seller put on.
Really?
Yeah. Which I like on this book because it's a standalone, but I think I got Bookshops and Bone Dust from the same person as well, and I don't like it because it doesn't match my copy of Legends and Lattes.
The other ones I have A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. That one's dessert. For fruit, Hemlock and Silver, also by T. Kingfisher. Night Bitch by Rachel Yoder for protein. And Can't Spell Treason Without Tea by Rebecca Thorne for beverage. All right, for periodic table, I only have a hard copy of one of them, but I'm going to talk about this one last because this one's special. Well, special to me. I have Silver Elite by Danny Francis.
Oh, I do own a physical copy of that book. So.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it's just in my room right now.
Okay. Neon Gods by Katie Robert. Altered Carbon by Richard K. Morgan. And The Radium Girls, The Dark Story of America's Shining Women by Kate Moore. So the other one I have for periodic table is, The Iron Baby Angel was written by my great-grandfather, Charles R. McDowell. I never met him. He died before I was born. But it takes place in 1909 in a rural small town called Danville, Kentucky. I don't know much else about it. I just know it's a young boy that goes and spends the summer with his grandmother, and there's a bunch of small town things. But I'm excited to read it because the family history. For the It's Your Birthday prompt, I only have one in a physical copy, Tress of the Emerald Sea. My birthday is in May, so my birthstone is the emerald, and this one's by Brandon Sanderson. I could also use this for backlist.
Yeah, that's true. And you can use, the same book for 2 prompts?
Yes.
Yeah. I loved Tress of the Emerald Sea. It's the one that I've read out of order. People had some interesting thoughts about the narration style, but I actually thought it was very fun. So
okay. I don't know anything about it. I know nothing. So my zodiac is a Taurus, and I actually got the idea for this book from another YouTuber, and I will try to find their channel. It was a person I'd never seen before, but they were talking about the HRCYED 3.0 challenge. I think their birthday is in July, but they're reading another book by the same author, or maybe it's part of a series. I'm not sure. I will try to find it, but shout out to that person because I wouldn't have heard of this otherwise. But it's Morning Glory Milking Farm. My library has a copy of the audiobook, but not the ebook. I don't know anything about it other than it's supposedly spicy. My birth flower is Lily of the Valley. So I have the book Lily of the Valley by Megan Durr. My birth tree is a willow. So I have Willow Walk by S.J.I. Holiday. The Ballad of Falling Dragons by Sarah A. Parker for published in May. My name is Kelly, which means warrior. So I have Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Moss. And my Chinese zodiac is an ox. So I basically just a double Taurus. And I am as stubborn as you would expect with that combination. But I have Bull Moon Rising by Ruby Dixon. It has a really pretty cover. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I have. You've got several monster romances on there.
I have never read a monster romance.
Yeah, and you have 2 in your birthday month.
And I feel like these are like jumping into the deep end.
Well, yeah, because Ruby Dixon is Ice Planet Barbarians, is her like really well-known ones. And then Morning Glory Milking Farm is, I think, a Minotaur. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be an adventurous challenge.
Yes. Anyway, that'll be interesting. We'll see how that goes. For not-so-secret prompts, I have some of these. And for the first and last name and title, I think I'm actually going to switch what I have on here. Maybe. But for pun and title, I have Wreck the Halls by Tessa Bailey. For first and last name and title, I have The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which I have, Margot has a hard copy of. But there's another book that I've been wanting to read, so I might switch to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue.
I recommend both of them so highly. So really, whichever one you pick, I think is going to be a great time. Like, they're both 5-star reads. It's entirely different.
Okay, that doesn't help me decide.
No. I mean, I guess it's if you want like a fantasy or a like Hollywood kind of more realistic fiction, a little bit of romance. You could always poll it. We could put it on like Instagram and people could vote. And you
Oh,
could,
that's true. We should do that.
yeah.
All right. For motion on cover, I have Oathbringer because she's jumping or flying. The glare from the light is killing me. The childhood book you missed out on is The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman. Did you ever read that one?
I didn't. I have friends who read it, but I didn't read them.
I never read it either. So that's one. For Joseph's coat color title, that is my second use of The City Sons by Tom Pollock.
Is that one just that it has red on the cover? What is the...
Yeah, it was the guy's coat in a musical.
Yeah, because it's red and yellow and orange and blue and purple. And I don't actually know the colors, but that's the tune of it.
Yeah, there was a list of them, but I figured like red and crimson are both on the list.
Yeah.
And I would say there's red and crimson in
I
this
think
title. So that is my second use of that one. For Doomscroll Read, I have The Awakening, book 1 of the Zodiac Academy.
Oh, I have thoughts on the Zodiac Academy.
Okay, please share.
They're crazy books. That's all I've got to tell you. Like, I've listened to 3.5 of them. They're just nuts. Like, I don't know. I don't think they're particularly good. They are incredibly entertaining, and they are just nuts. I listened to the I forgot what they're called when it's the full cast audio, but they're just absolutely wild, and just be prepared for craziness.
Okay, I am intrigued. For Last Name is a First Name, I have The Book That Wouldn't Burn by Mark Lawrence. I have first and last name on here twice. Maybe because I couldn't decide between The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. So now I have 3 to choose from for that prompt. For the I'll get around to it later, I have The Life of Pi by Jan Martel. I never read it in school like everybody else did in other classes. For title is the same as another book. I have The Memory Collectors, and I'll read the one by Deet Meserve. And for most recent acquisition, I have Born on a Blue Day, Inside the Extraordinary Mind of an Autistic Savant by Daniel Tammet. And I acquired this at the same time as some of my others after my grandmother passed away. But this was hers. For the Herkid mashup. And since picking these, I watched QWERTY's original video about this challenge. So I think I might have done this wrong. I thought it just had to be 5 books from any prompt from 1 and 2 together. I didn't realize I had to pick 1 prompt and then do 5 that fit that specific mashup. So I might have to swap out a couple of these. But 3 of the 5 actually follow that. So I'd only have to change 2. But 1 is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch, published in 2016 and has a red cover. The Memory Collectors by Deet Meserve, published in 2025. 300 pages. Real Americans by Rachel Kong is 2024 and 400 pages. Fourth Wing, 2023 and 500 pages. And then My Friends by Frederick Bachman for award season and blue cover.
It's crazy that you haven't read Fourth Wing.
No, that one's yellow.
No, I meant for the prompt.
Oh, yeah. I know. I haven't read it.
One of my friends convinced me to. I really liked Fourth Wing. I think you can see how much hype happened with the first book, and they kind of have gone downwards. But
I feel like that happens so often.
Yeah. We'll see what happens.
All right. For numerical titles, originally I was going to read When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, which does sound really good, and I might still read it. But I've also heard One Last Stop is really good, and Margot has a hard copy of it. So I think I'm going to swap it out for this.
I, in fact, have 2 hard copies, which maybe is an even better endorsement.
That's true. It's like a sign.
Yeah.
The next one, 2 Wrongs Make a Right, then 3 Shattered Souls and 4 Ruined Realms, and 5 Broken Blades by Mai Corland. 6 of Crows, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. Oh, I could also use The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle for 7. 8 Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. 9th House by Leigh Bardugo. 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. And then for any number, I have a couple options. I can either do 0 Day America Offline, which is like a dystopian sci-fi wintry book. and A Million Junes by Emily Henry.
And this is the Emily Henry that you're thinking of. We talked about her a little bit in the unboxing, but this is Emily Henry before she was the queen of rom-coms, wrote YA fantasy, and this book is just phenomenal. I read it years and years ago before anybody knew who she was, and it took me a while. I think it was after I read Beach Read, and I'd heard so many things, and I went, oh my gosh, it's the same Emily Henry.
All right. For states for the US road trip that are not New York or California, I am currently listening to the audiobook In Your Dreams by Sarah Adams, which takes place in Kentucky. I could also use The Iron Baby Angel, because that one's in Kentucky. The 12 by Justin Cronin takes place in Colorado. So does The Passage that I'm currently reading. Well, actually, it's Colorado for the first part, and then the rest in California, so I don't know if that one counts.
I think you could decide.
I know it's not a state technically, but The Zero Game by Brad Meltzer takes place in Washington, D.C. The Sound of Glass by Karen White is South Carolina. And originally I had Not Safe for Work by Nisha J. Tooley, which is in Hawaii. But Margot recommended this cowboy romance, Done and Dusted by Lila Sage, which takes place in Wyoming. So I might be switching that one out. And then they pulled out a couple others that I didn't know about. One that I read, The Bodyguard, takes place in Texas. I Kissed Shara Wheeler by Casey McQuiston takes place in
Louisiana, which is where Casey McQuiston is from.
Okay.
So,
and Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry
is in Georgia.
So if anybody needs state ideas, here's some extras. For I Must Endeavor to Acquire These Creatures, I don't have a physical copy of any of them. In the Veins of the Drowning by Kaylee Cassidy for water. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab for ground.
I love that book. It's with my mom because I said, you have to read this. I love Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. Another 5-star read from last year.
Okay. I'm excited. And Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher for poison. Okay. For Rainbow of Fonts, I have Red Mars by Kim Stanley Robinson. There's also Green Mars and Blue Mars, but I have different ones that I have on my TBR. But if anybody needs other colors, those exist. A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess. Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. Green Glass House by Kate Milford. Born on a Blue Day, Inside the Extraordinary Mind of an Autistic Savant by Daniel Temmett. The Only Purple House in Town, which is book 4 of a series, and I have not read any of the others. So that one would require me to read 3 extra books. Pink Slime by Fernanda Trias. The White Octopus Hotel by Alexandra Bell. Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Quicksilver by Callie Hart. For regional books, I have The White Octopus Hotel for Western Europe. That one takes place in the Swiss Alps. Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab I have for Caribbean. I know there are 3 timelines and there are 3 different locations, but I can only use it for one. So Caribbean. The Night Ends with Fire by K.X. Song. My friend gave me this recommendation. She said it takes place in East Asia, I think. She said maybe West. She wasn't sure. But Asia. Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. That one's like southern coastal US. And Blackfish City by Sam J. Miller is Arctic. For biomes and landscapes, I have Razorblade Tears by S.A. Crosby. Wicked Dreams by Lisa Jackson and Nancy Bush for ocean. The Atlantis Plague by A.G. Riddle. And this is desert. It's also the second book in a trilogy. The first one is Atlantis Gene, and I have to find a copy of it. The library doesn't have it, and I don't want to pay full price. So I think I can get it on Kindle for like $5, but if anybody knows where I can find this. Anyway, that one is Tundra. My Husband's Wife by Alice Feeney for Lake on the cover. And then Jade City by Fonda Lee for urban. For the next category, I have taxonomic animals. I have Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett for feline. Shadow and Bone by Lee Bardugo for cervidae. And I might be butchering these, but They're on the screen. Whale Fall by Daniel Kraus for Cetaceae. Is that? Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang by Kylie Lee Baker for Chiroptera. Walking with Gorillas, The Journey of an African Wildlife Vet by Dr. Gladys Kalima Zikuskaka. I'm really sorry if I totally butchered that. That's for Primate. And then I have The Moth Catcher by Anne Cleves for Lepidoptera.
I'm good at the bug ones, just saying them because I've said them out loud a lot. Just in
cool.
childhood,
As one does. All right, for Second Chances and Hidden Gems, I have two that I picked because they're not what I would normally read, and that's My Friends by Frederick Bachman and Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. Lily of the Valley by Megan Durr. I picked that one because the rating is less than 3.5. And then Animal Farm by George Orwell. I have this really old copy. I looked it up. I think it's the first American edition, just based on the publisher. And that's a classic that I never read in school, but I know that one's a common one that they use. And then I have Florence Nightingale, The Wounded Soldier's Friend by Eliza F. Pollard. And I made up my own subcategory, but it's been passed down 3 generations, which I think is kind of cool. It actually has in the front 2 Emma and Annie Irby from Papa, 1896.
Whew.
Written in pencil. There we go. Emma and Annie were my grandmother's aunts. Wait, so that's 4 generations.
Yeah.
Anyway, I count that as a second chance.
Yeah, or like a 8th chance. I don't know. Just so many. It's made its way down through history. And so I feel like you should give it a chance. So,
all right. The next category is weather. And I only have a hard copy of one of them, but we have State of Fear by Michael Crichton for lightning. Homebound by Portia Elon for cloudy. Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney for snow. I have The Reformatory by Tananarive Dew for fog. Whirlwind by Kayla Gross for tornado. Did it just start pouring?
Mm-hmm.
Well, good timing. I have The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware for rain. For titular counting, so number of words in the title. For 1, I have Less by Andrew Sean Greer. Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yaros. Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. Agnes Aubert's Mystical Cat Shelter by Heather Fawcett. That one is 5. In the Veins of the Drowning by Kaylee Cassidy. 7. I have Science Fiction and Fantasy 2024, edited by Hugh Howey, so that'll be the second use for that. Most of these are second uses. Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zhang. Drive Your Plow Over the Bones of the Dead by Olga Tokarzuk. That's for 9. And The Radium Girls, The Dark Story of America's Shining Women by Kate Moore for 10. All right, and for the remix category, I have Ivy and Bone by R.L. Perez, Hades and Persephone retelling. The Night Ends with Fire, KX Song, which is a Mulan retelling. Circe by Madeline Miller, which is an Odyssey retelling. Stoneblind by Natalie Haynes, which is a Medusa retelling. And Blood of Hercules by Jasmine Moss, which is a Hercules retelling. So I think those are all the books that I have planned for the HRCYED 3.0 challenge. I hope you found this video useful and maybe gave you some ideas of books you can read for this challenge. If you are participating in this challenge, let me know below which version you're doing, the no-nonsense normal version, the ain't no one got time for that version, kids version, etc. And if there are any books that would fit a prompt that I didn't list that you really enjoyed, leave that in the comments below. I can't wait to see other recommendations, and good luck to everybody on this challenge. Bye.